But this is definitely a secular value, preferring the big over the small. However, there's a much deeper mental value, and in some ways, it could be a spiritual value too. What I mean is, within that story, there's also the distinction between what is clean and what is not. Do you prefer something big even if it's dirty? Or would you prefer something small but clean? If you had to choose, you'd say that you'd prefer something small but clean, right? So, which value is higher between being big and being clean? God values purity and holiness. So when you read the Bible, you'll see that God places more importance on the issue of cleanliness, purity, and holiness rather than on big or small problems. He emphasizes these values significantly. That's why he taught the Israelites about purification rituals. Especially in Leviticus, it says, "I am holy, so you shall be holy," which means living in a way that is distinct from secular values. So, he taught the Israelites about purification rituals. Especially in Leviticus, it says, "I am holy, so you shall be holy," which means living in a way that is distinct from secular values. As God's people, we live a clean life, choosing not to defile ourselves. As God's people, we live a clean life, to not defile oneself. The reason we treasure Daniel is because he was taken captive during the final days of Judah when the nation was in a state of great crisis. But he firmly resolved before God not to defile himself. That's why he and his friends decided not to eat the delicacies the king gave them and wanted to keep themselves pure. Isn't that what makes Daniel stand out? So, the spiritual value that is far more important than big or small issues is the issue of cleanliness. Cleanliness. And when we talk about Jesus saving us, what does that salvation mean? Salvation isn't about making us great. It's about cleansing us from our impurities. Salvation cleanses us from our impurities. That's what salvation is. The power of Jesus' blood means that when we are washed by it, we don't just become great. Instead, we, who are dirty, become clean. Cleanliness is incredibly important. It's not about becoming great. It's about us, who were dirty, becoming clean. Cleanliness is really important. So, the Israelites emphasized cleanliness. They would wash their hands. This became a formal purification ritual. There were various purification rituals. This teaches us a lesson. Choose cleanliness over size. Big doesn't mean good. Be clean and pure before God. The same applies to the church. This became a formal purification ritual. We need to choose cleanliness over size. Just because something is big doesn't mean it's good. It has to be clean, to be pure before God. I think the same goes for the church. In that sense, is a big church necessarily a good thing? If you think about what kind of church God would give a high score to, you can see that a smaller, cleaner church that follows God's word would receive much more praise from Him. If you look at Revelation, chapters 2 and 3, which talk about the 7 churches in Asia Minor, the Laodicean church was a very large church. The Laodicean church is a wealthy and abundant church, while the Philadelphia church is a small church. But the Philadelphia church is the one that only received praise, while the Laodicean church only received rebuke. In the Lord's praise for the Philadelphia church, it says, "I have little power." But it goes on to say, the Philadelphia church has little power. It's small in size, but it hasn't betrayed God's word. Although they are few in number, they faithfully kept their faith before God. So everyone, our Youngnak Church is recognized as one of the large churches, and everyone agrees on that. While we certainly need to work hard to spread the gospel as we grow, what should be emphasized 100 or 1,000 times more than our desire to grow is that Youngnak Church becomes a clean church before God